All right, so once we have the friend list view, let's actually start to build our chat view. So I open my design right here. Okay, so I want to be able to enable two different kind of chatting. I want to do kind of friend-based chatting one-on-one, or I want to do a group chatting. But in either way, I want to go to this kind of a chat view here, where we have a list view, and then at the bottom you got an area to type the message, and also click on the button to send it. So a very simple one. Okay, let's try to build it. So I am going to build a new page for this chat view. Okay, I'm going to do this really quick. So right click here, I'm going to open it and then create a new .dart file. I'll call it chat view page. Let's just call it chat page. Okay. All right, and then create a brand new page, chat page. All right, and then make sure you import material library. All right, and then from here, I'm going to still bring a scaffold with a body, and then inside that view, all right, if you look at our design, it's list view and then two bottom parts here in a row. So this whole thing could be a column, and then this one could be a row. Okay, let's try that. So I'm going to do a column. All right, so first of all, we need a list view, and then otherwise, and then the other part we need a row, right? So the list view, actually, let's do it. We have built a lot of a list view here in the previous example. Okay, we're going to use a list view builder, and then we will actually borrow an example very quickly. So here we got a list view, this is a list view builder, and then you got a list here, and the builder will have a method to return something that you can use, right? So we could start from something really simple, and then the list view builder. Okay, let me just copy this whole method right here, just to return some kind of widget. Okay, so I'm gonna go here, return that builder, and yeah, that's how we can actually build our list view builder here. Okay, let me clean up some of the attributes here, and we also have item count. Let's do a 10 just to make sure we can show something. For the list view builder here, the main thing we're trying to show is the message, right? So let's just do a message. So I'm going to do a text, so message here, all right, and that's going to return a message, right? And then we can just modify this one to make it look better, right? So that's a very basic list view. And then after that, we will need a row. Okay, the row will have a text field, and after that we also need a little button, and we can do a little icon button. Icon button will probably need like a child, I guess, or icon. Yeah, it's in an icon. So icon can use some of the default icon, can do something on send, right? And then you can have on-pressed action here to press the button. Okay, and then here's the text field, and then that's the list view. It looks like we got everything, right? So let's try to open this page from the previous friend list view. Okay, so right here, probably I want to go to click on this button. Right now, this one doesn't refresh. I don't need a refresh because I have the real-time update. So this one here, I'm going to change it. Okay, I'm going to comment this one. I will change one to something called open chat view. Okay, so chat page. All right, so just open it directly. I can also change the icon here, not refresh. I will do something called the messaging. Messaging message. All right, so refresh. All right, so I got a little message. I click on that, and this one here is not working. It's because we are using some of the list view, and then I think we need to expand it. All right, so this list view here, you actually have to expand it in order to give the right specification for the height. Okay, all right, so refresh that, and it's still not working. And then the reason, if you look at the comment here, it's also about this text input, text field right here. This one also you need to do some kind of a decorations. All right, so we'll actually go copy some of the styles from the sign up here. Okay, so the sign up button, and we can actually use, for example, the name, that's the text field, and then we just do kind of a decoration, something like this, put that inside, and that is a chat page. Okay, we do a decoration. This one will be type your message here. Okay, something like this. And then it's also good to actually expand this one because they also have some requirements in terms of the width of the text field. So I've refreshed the page again. Now we got a basic chat view. Okay, here you got all the messages, and then here you got a place that you can type your message and you can click on the button to send it. So that's just a very simple and then prototype. All right. So let's actually try and how to implement it. All right. So right now I'm actually just hard coding the messages, just 10 messages, right? So what we should do is actually to use the variable and to load actual messages from the Firebase. Okay. But then to do that, we actually need to first figure out how do we actually send the message to Firebase as we chat. All right. So let's assume now this one here is the group chat. Okay. As I explained, I click on this button. I'm trying to talk to the whole group. So like chat room. So I go here and I can type my message. I can send it over to the server. All right. So now we need to think about how the server should be set it up. All right. So right now we got a friend here that saves all the profile information. I don't need the students anymore. I'm going to delete that one. All right. So I probably would create another one for message. All right. Just to save all the messages. All right. And then inside the messages, we got a lot of different things. I want to do something called a group message to differentiate that with some other individual messages. I will do a group message, and inside the group message, I would like to record all the list of messages people have sent before. Okay. Now every message has different information. For example, the actual content of the message and also the time you send this message. Right. So that's why we need to differentiate each individual message. So here I would still like to use the timestamp for the key here, something like this, so that it's automatically ordered. Not only is it unique, but also it's automatically ordered. When you are loading the things from the Firebase, you can sort it. And every message, as I mentioned, you have the message content. I will call it text, right? So here is a little message example, and also you have a time sent, or I call it timestamp, and this one should be the same as the other one you use for the key. Some other attribute you can add, for example, you need to know the user, so UID, so who sent it, right? So this is also important, the user ID. This is, you can get it from your local, once you log in, you will actually know the user ID. Okay, so let's actually put this one here. That actually forms one message under this group chat. And you can do more. And then next message, let's say somebody else, put some other messages. And in the same way, we can save the text, and then we can save timestamp. Timestamp will be the same number, and also you have to save the UID, and so that we know who sent it. All right. So this is how we can manage all the messages one by one in the Firebase system. So every single message should be recorded separately with the key. All right. So if you understand that, okay, let's actually start to implement it. So here we got a box here. We need a controller, right? So we need to do a message controller. All right. So this one will actually go to here. Okay, now once you press the button, I need to grab the actual message. So that's easy. We can just use this one to get the actual message. All right, but then we also know the time. The time is important, right? So I can create like a timestamp, which is in Dart, you can do a time, date, time, and you can do now dot milliseconds. Can use the milliseconds approach time to save that one, and then that will be the timestamp. So you can form a message record. I'll call it record. I'm still going to use this kind of a dictionary or hash map type of thing. So one is the text you're typing, which come from the message controller. You also need to record the timestamp, which is the timestamp you just got from above. All right, and then you also need to use the UID so that we know who actually sent it, right? So the UID here is only the sender will actually know it, And also we can get that from the previous screen. That's also possible. So either way is okay. So let's actually not worry about UID for now. Okay, let's actually test if this message can be sent first, and then we'll talk about how do we deal with the UID. So once we form a message, we can use the Firebase to send it. So Firebase instance.reference.child, and specify the path. The path will be message/group. All right, because that's kind of the path we want to go. And then here you have to specify the key. So the key will be using a timestamp. We want to make sure that is a string. All right, from here we do set. We set the message record, and then we do the callback. Then catch error. It's all the same kind of structure as you use Firebase in Flutter. So here we actually have, I'll just print a message, edit the message, and this one here is failed to add the message. All right, so clean up the code right here. That's a little button action. So we get the data, time, and then find the path using Firebase database write operation, and let's run it. Okay, I refresh the code. I'm gonna type something. All right, so let's go to right here. I'm gonna clear this. Okay, I'm gonna clear the current messages so that we can start from scratch. All right, so I'm gonna type like hello world. Okay, I click on the button here, add, and this message has been added. You can see automatically grab the current timestamp, and then this is the text. I will do something else. Hi, and then click on this one here. All right, so it actually generate a different timestamp. It's also automatically in sequence. All right, and let's do one more, morning, and then click on the button. That's how we can actually send the message, and then the message will be imported here. All right. One simple thing here, like every time we send the message, you should actually clear this text, right? So that's one is really easy. I can do like once your message has been sent, I will just clear your controller. So message controller.text will be empty. I think that's how you can do it. And then of course, if something is wrong, also will do that. So let me refresh that. Try this one more time. Oops. Morning everyone. I click on the button, and this one has been cleared, and then the message has been sent to the server. So we kind of implement this part here. All right. And now once we have this, all right, so we should be able to also to load all the message and then display it on top of here. All right. So that part also very easy, because right now this one is all under this group, and then you can just load everything all together under this group. Just like how you read everything from friends. Okay, so this one is a list. So as long as you provide the list, and then you can then plug in the list into the list view right here. Right now we're hard code some kind of a dummy data right here. So to do that, let's create a message list, which is empty, and we use the message list to show out everything. So message list will have a length. The message list will actually have the content based on the actual position. It will be using the text to show it. Now obviously right now we don't have anything, so you don't have the content. So what we need to do is to actually load all the text messages into this view, right? So I can start to do that from the constructor. All right, so I will do the Firebase read operation. So we're just reviewing the same thing, reference, and then child, specify the path, which is message/group, because I'm going to get every message, so I just do the group. So everything under group will be returned at the value. I call something called once, that's going to return something to me, just a read, and I do then, which I'm going to record and receive all the data, and it's called a data snapshot. I will just use the DS to represent it, and then I will also catch error. So here's the error, and then a block here. Okay, all the same thing. So this one here should be giving us the key and value. So everything should be stored in the value, which is the same kind of example. Let's print the ds.value here. Okay, so you can see it. All right, so here just print something, fail to get load all the messages. All right, so here's the constructor. Let's try it, refresh. This one won't take effect because the constructor is not triggered when you do the hollow. So I go back, click on this button again, and now we're loading all the messages back to from Firebase. What I need to do is to kind of turn all the record from here inside the list view. Okay, so I am going to do a ds.value.forEach loop to kind of iterate everything, key, value, and then bracket like this. Okay, that's how you can iterate the whole map. And then all we need to do is just add the whole thing here into the list. So to do that, I will create a temporary list. Rather than changing that list directly, I will do a temporary list and then gonna add all the value here to the list. So once that is done, I will do the messaging list equal to the temporary list. To override it, I call set state to notify all the UI things have been changed. All right, let's try it. So refresh, go back, and log in, load this again. Now all the message shows up. There's a 4 message I sent before, and then they're just showing like this. All right, so let's try this. I'm gonna type one more message. I'm gonna type one more. This is a Flutter class. All right, send. All right, I'm gonna send one more. It is a popular topic. All right, send it. All right, as you can see, the messages are being sent, but it's not showing up because we have not specified the auto update, which is the real-time update, right? So we can do that later. So now I'm gonna go back, try open it again, and then this message shows up. So everything will be loaded from database. All right. So now you might be wondering, how can I actually implement the real-time updating? That's actually something really easy. We've done that before, right? So all we need to do is kind of register some kind of event listener. So when things are changing, when things are being added or removed, will actually trigger this kind of refresh algorithm, right? So this is a simple way to refresh everything. So I'm going to create a method here. I'll call it a refresh message list. All right, so I'm going to move all this code down here so that I can just call this refresh method. But meanwhile, when I start, I want to register a listener here. Okay, I want to register it. So I will go Firebase instance.reference.child. I'm going to listen this whole thing here under message.group. I'll click something called on child edit. Obviously, the messaging app only we're adding things, we're not really changing people's history. And then do a listen. That's going to allow you to put the event listener. So whenever things are being added, we can just call refresh. That's it, very simple. Now this time we are going to have this real-time update thing. Okay, so I'm going to refresh the page here. All right, so let's try this. Now this time I'm going to type another message. I'm going to say that this is a new message. Add it. All right, I'm going to click on the button here once I add it. All right, and looks, oh, actually because we did not trigger that whole listener. Okay, let's actually restart this screen again. Now the listener has been triggered. All right, let me try this one more time. So this is a new message added one more time. All right, click on the add button. All right, so this is the message shows up, right? So Flutter, Dart, click on add. All right, so it's being added, and then something else. Click and something else being added, right? So you can see this is a real-time update. And also the cool thing here is somebody else, if they send other message, you can also see the changes shows up here right away. But I do see a little problem here that the message is not really sorted as I want. So it looks like they're not really sorted by the timestamp, because you see some of the new message actually shows in the middle. So what we need to do here is actually to sort the whole message before we're updating that, right? So to sort it, I think Flutter should have some kind of a sort kind of a functionality that I can provide, right? So let's actually see and search this very quick. Dart sort list. All right, let's see. Sort those kind of things. Sort more advanced usage. I think that's something we're trying to do. So you can specify a B and then just do the comparison I guess that's something really easy to do. I'm going to copy this one. Okay, so we're going to sort. We're going to pass a function to tell the Dart how we're going to sort it. We're going to compare A's like a timestamp with B's timestamp. Okay, that's it. All right, so I'm gonna refresh this one here. Okay, coming back, try this again. I think this time it's all noise, right? So let's try this. See if we can send also this message here. Okay, that one works again. Send it. So I think this time the message has been ordered. All right, so that's how it works. All right, so as you can see, it's really easy to use the Firebase to do some kind of a real-time messaging app like this, right? So you know, just sending all the message to Firebase, and let the Firebase handle all the notification about the changes. All right, and then next, let's actually make the message looks like more professional. Okay, this is not a very good view. Now we need to actually come down here to modify how that, you know, UI should look like. Right now I'm just showing a plain text here. Okay, that's not very interesting, right? So let's actually do something more. All right, so I'm gonna wrap this in with the container first, just to do some modification. All right, and then also I think it will be good to have a whole row here. So I'm gonna wrap this one with a row. Okay, now if we have a row, we can actually put some kind of image there, image icon, to kind of show the user profile, right? So that we can actually borrow how we are doing the avatar, circle avatar right here. So I'm gonna try this one here, and then move it to the chat page. All right, so I'm gonna add a circle avatar first, and this one again, we're not really providing the actual list view, so we can just you know, put the message list view here. Okay, we can just add this in the future. Right now we don't have it, but then let's assume we have some kind of attributes here, so that we can use that one to display the avatar, and then we can still just do what we did before. As we are adding this record from the database, we can just manually add a placeholder image for now. Okay, so we can come back to change that later. So I'm going to copy it and use the same kind of a profile URL, and then put it right here. All right, so that way we got a like a placeholder, and then the avatar will be show up here, and this is the text. I also want to show the text about the timestamp. All right, so that we can get all this information. All right, let's try it. I'm gonna refresh. All right, go back, try this again. All right, so this is not working. I think, oh, it's because this is integer, right? So this one I'm gonna make it a toString. All right, so this one looks better, right? So as you can see now, every user has a little avatar here. There is the message and also the time it's being sent. All right. Okay, so but again, this is not too perfect. Let's actually try to add it. Like the one thing is the margin. I think we need to add some margin to make it look nicer. So margin for the whole container, I think we'll do edge, and we can do all. Maybe add 5 little margin here around each other, so this one looks better. That's one, right? And also the avatar, I think there should be some margin to the right, so I'll also use this one here, that circle avatar. I'm going to add a container and then do a margin here, edge, insets dot only. I'll do the right margin, maybe another 5 here. Refresh. All right, so we got some little space here to the message. And then for the message, we could actually do some kind of message box, just like how we use a chat, right? The chat, they just use a little text box here. So I'm gonna Google a little bit, Flutter text, you know, box, background, something like this. Okay, see if we can find anything. Set background with color. This one do a background color, and then there's a decoration box. Okay, let's see if we can use something like this. Decoration box. Let's do some kind of a round corner box here. So maybe chat box background, something like that. All right, it's the same link here. chat app, how to build a messaging app. They give some kind of tutorial, but is there anything about the UI part we can borrow? Okay, or maybe I'll just do a little text. I'll do a box rounded, box background, border. Try this one here, and this is a container. They do a container, and then they do a box decoration, border, everything. Let's see if there's specific thing to the text. Okay. See something like this. I guess this is something like similar, and they also use the decoration, box decoration, something like this. And all right, so let's actually try this. All right, so looks like we need to wrap this one with a container first. Okay, because once you have a container, you can do the decoration. All right, so let's see this. Now we're gonna borrow this one here. Okay, the decoration, which use the box decoration. All right, so let's just run it. Okay, so it looks like we're getting there. Okay, so all this circular, okay, the radius is too much, I think. Oh, and also this one only do for top left and top right. And then let's just do all. I think there should be something called all, and then this one just put one number like 5. I'm gonna refresh that. Now 5. Or maybe 5.0. Okay, so let's see how to use that function. Flutter, border radius. Let's see how that one works. How do we do the border for everything for all? Yeah. Oh, it's actually radius. Radius is a radius circular. Maybe we should do that one here. It's an object. All right, so let's try to run this one here. All right, so that looks better. So I think that's kind of a little background here we can use, and then that wrap the text, and then yeah, and then this part is not okay. This text is the timestamp. Okay, let's actually comment on this one first, and we'll come back to this one later. Okay, so this is how you can write a little bit of box here, and for your text, but we should add some margin or padding, right? So let's just add some padding this time. To a 5 padding, just to make it larger. Yeah, so adding some paddings in the middle here just to make the message a little bit nicer. Okay, and also I think there's another issue that if the text go too long, this is going to break. Okay, so we probably need to set the width. Okay, so maybe the width I need to specify that to be like 250. All right, so that way it will actually go like a wrapped line, but then at the same time this actually will go to the yeah, this will actually be the whole 250 for now. Okay, so we need to actually see how to deal with that. Let's actually keep it right now just like what it is. So you got a consistent kind of a view here. It doesn't look really good. Okay, so let me comment out first. Yeah, this one may be a little bit better. Let me add more padding. Okay, so this is a little bit better, and the color, let's change it. Okay, the green color isn't too good. Actually, let's try some other like a maybe green color. Yeah, it looks kind of better, right? A little bit better, slightly better. So let's actually use that one. Or maybe we can differentiate the sender and then see that maybe the sender will actually show up on the right with a different color, and then all the other people's message will show on the left with this color. All right. Anyway, this is just kind of some kind of play around with this message, and then here we got this time here. Okay, if I bring it up, so it kind of show the messaging here, the time being sent. A better way maybe to put this one to the bottom, below this text message right here. So I probably will create a column to wrap this one. Okay, so I'm going to use a column, and I can move this one inside a column. All right, that way this one will actually go like below it, right? So this is much better. Let's align them, and then we need to kind of align them to the left, so we should be able to actually do that with the column. Let's try the main axis alignment. Yeah, for some reason this is not updating and giving us all the auto completion features sometimes. All right, so let's try this main axis alignment. All right, or we actually should try the cross axis alignment. All right, so that one works. Okay, so we don't need this one. Just try and figure out what's the difference between cross and the main axis. When you're dealing with column, then the cross alignment is actually your horizontal line. Okay. And another thing is the time. Okay, you don't want to show that number here. You can actually turn that into a readable time format. There are different ways to do it. You can Google it, but then basically you can turn this into a datetime format, datetime object. So I'm going to do a datetime. I think you can do from milliseconds time. So you can pass this one into this constructor. So that's going to form you a datetime object, and then from there I think you can then just show some kind of a string, right? So let's try this as O string, see what that looks like. If I want to refresh that one, yeah, so that one turned that into this kind of a string. Is there a better way to just do the to string? Let's see if that's the difference. Okay, this is better, at least doesn't show the T. Okay, so anyway, so this is a little example that you can actually show a time also by turning a timestamp into your actual readable time. And then this one we can add a little style because I think the text is too big here. All right, so style here, text style. I think there's a font size we can do, maybe do 10, a little smaller. Yeah, maybe to 12. Yeah, that one looks good. And then if you want to do more, maybe some slightly margin, I guess. Or we can actually say that this is send at something like this. All right, so just a little message. As I mentioned, you can do some little margin here. So margin only to the bottom. And then we do like very slight margin 3, okay, very little one. Okay, so that's not really too much text. I think that is okay for now. All right, so yeah, anyways, that's kind of a list of view here. Let's actually type more messages. I'm gonna do try again with new message, and then click on send. All right, and then this is the new message, right? Another thing we should do probably is to make sure the list view always scroll to the bottom. Okay, the list view here, because right now every time we go to the list view, it's not really showing at the bottom. We should always scroll to the bottom because the bottom one has the newest message, right? So with that, we actually need to Google Flutter list view, scroll to bottom, see how to do that. All right, so there should be different solutions we can try, and I think there's something about the in embedding a kind of a controller, and then you can do the animate to some certain positions or something like this. Controller jump to as some kind of a context extend. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this one. I think this is something I used before. Okay, so what we need to do is create a scroll controller. Let's try that. So for the list view, okay, you can create another controller. So call it scroll controller, and this is just called scroll controller, and then you need to add that into your list view here. Controller, scroll controller. All right, so this is kind of a controller you can program to manage how to actually use the list view. Okay, I think one of the options is to basically to do the scroll to. So let's try this one. Okay, so once you are updating your list view, I'm going to do a scroll controller. I'm going to jump into the scroll controller to the maximum extent. Okay, so let's see if this one works. I'm going to refresh that. All right, I'm going to go back and then go to here again. All right, so it looks like that works, right? So I'm going to send this one more time. Test, send. All right, so I think that one works. All right, so click on this one, test again, send. All right, so that one works. Okay, so that's kind of a very quick implementation for this scroll to the bottom. All right, so so I think we're getting a very good shape right now. And then another thing we haven't done is the user information. So for example, I want to see like who this user is, what's the name and everything. All right, so that's also something we can, you know, put into the text message, which we didn't do. So the main thing here we need to do is that we need to kind of when we are posting the message, all right, a text here, a timestamp here, and we should also put the user information. And then for the user information, you can just put a UID, and then once you have the UID, then you can load the user information. Or I can just put all the user information, because everyone will know its own user information. So you can just embed all the information into the app. That also works. So I'm going to choose the first way, which is to embed the UID, okay, to the chat record. So now the question here is, how do we get the UID? All right, so the UID, once you log in from your home screen, once you log in, and then you will be able to get it from the result, the authentication result, right? So let's actually find on the login page, and there should be a button right here. This is sign up. Okay, here's the login. You log in successfully, and then this one here is a return for your UID. So you should be able to grab that UID from authentication service. Okay, that's something you can do. Or I think the authentication service also will be able to tell you the current login user. So if you do this one here, and to do that, get something called a current user, I think that's also going to tell you what your current user is. All right, so either way is fine. Okay, I'm actually going to go to getting the current user here. So I may want to get that one when I'm going to the list view page right here. So let's say that I log in, I open this page here, I will know my current user right away. All right, so to do that, I will need to put that into my current constructor. So I will need to basically to do something like this. So Firebase authentication instance and instance dot current user. Now this is also a kind of callback, so you have to do the same kind of structure to wait for the result and also catch error. All right, and then let's actually print what this one is. I think this is the actual the authentication result, right? So let's refresh the code. I go back. I'm going to log in this again. Log in. All right, so now I can print out some information right here. Yeah, so this is actually the authentication. Not this one. Okay, so the authentication is Firebase user is right here. All right, so let me clear up some other information, because we did actually have a lot of print statement right here, kind of very messy. So well, I will leave this one for your reference because it may be helpful to understand. But anyway, so this Firebase user is the object returned from this method called current user. So this one knows the UID and also all the other information, right? So but then the most important thing we want to know is the UID. So the value dot UID, I think that actually tells you the actual UID. All right, once you know the UID, you should be able to find the actual user information from the Firebase database. All right, now remember this one here, we're loading all the friends from the database. It has all the UID stuff. So if I tell you a certain UID, you should be able to get a specific user. All right, so let's try this. So because of that, it actually makes more sense to put this code inside your block right here. So once as you're loading, once you're finishing everything, okay, I'm going to try to get the current user, okay, and then if I know the current UID, I can grab the thing from the date snapshot.value part, okay, the value dot UID. This one will have the actual user information. So let's try the user information record. If I'm going to print current user information, I'm going to do the print the user information. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to refresh this one here. I'm going to go back. So I'm going to click on the login. All right, so let's see if we can get the current user information. Fail to update the user. We don't do the update the user. Oh, this one here got error. Okay, let's see why. What's wrong with it? Okay, let's print fail to get the user info, and then let's print the error so that we will know what the error is. Try it again. Login. So user@gmail.com, and then here is 1 2 3 4 5 6. Login. All right. So invalid arguments. I think it's because of this one here, or maybe let's actually print the UID just to make sure everything is right. Okay, and then or maybe here let's actually also print to string. All right, so go back, login. All right, we do got a UID, and then this one here is null, and so we did not find this one here. Okay, so this value should has all the friends information, and then we're putting the UID here, and that should give us the actual user ID, right? So it's YX4. Oh, it's probably because the actual user we're using. I'm using the user at gmail.com. Maybe we don't have it, right? So that's because that's the user we created account we created earlier. So we only have user 6, 8, and 5, right? So let's actually try this again. I'm gonna log in with 8, okay, and then that's the cost. All right, so because those user account is the one I created really early. So if I do it this way, now I do got the current user information, the UID, phone, name, and everything, right? So that's how you can actually send the user get the information from the database. Once you log in, get the current user, right? Because this information we probably would need to use that a lot, right? So I'll probably just save it somewhere, maybe as a global variable, right? So I can also in the future save that locally as a local copy, but maybe right now, you know, I will just do something really simple, just to make a global variable so that I can use that anywhere. So user profile, okay, I'll create a class here, and then from here, actually let me rename this one. Okay, so rename this user profile. All right, and then from here I can just say that, okay, so the user profile has some kind of a global variable, and then we will do I think there is a static view, static way we can do it, and just do a like a user current user. I'll call it current user, something like this. All right, so with that I can then go to here to save this variable, save this object, which is the user info, right? So I can do that. Okay, user profile dot current user will be the user info, so that we can just call this one anywhere we want, right? So it's just an easy way for us to get that information right away. All right, so with that, and when you are in the chat page, when you're getting the UID, and then you can actually just send it. Okay, so I can just do this one here, I can do the UID, and also I can do some other information such as the email and name if I want. So I'm just going to put the UID first, okay, and then this one we need to import it. All right, so let's try this again with all this code changes. All right, so let me actually go from beginning. So I'm in the user 8, okay, login. All right, so now I'm going to start to chat again. Now this time, actually, let's go back to the Firebase database to see what's the difference about the messages. Okay, I'm going to type one more. So I'm going to open the last one. So I'm going to type one more here, new message with ID. All right, so I'm going to send. So this message right here, new message with ID, as you can see, we have the UID here. All right, so from now on, all the messages you send will actually have a UID. All right, now what's the usage of this one? Obviously, one thing you can do is if you know who sent this message, and then you can differentiate if that's yours. If it's yours, then maybe you can show the message to the right, and if it's not yours, then you just show the message to the left, right? So that's just something you can just do very quickly. All right, so let's try this. So I am going to implement something right here. So because now we can actually show the UID, I can just compare and then see what kind of a layout we want to use, right? So if you want to do on the right hand side, then you have to put the avatar to the right and all of those, right? So let's try it. So that means when you are trying to give the list view right here, the container, okay, now you could actually have some kind of a condition. If this is your current user, you do this way, otherwise you do the other way, right? So I think this one here, I think you can do some kind of a condition. Let's say that if this one, I would say that if your message list, okay, dot index, and then your UID, if that equals to the current user the one you saved in the per file, okay, that means this is your message. All right, so you do this kind of conditional checking here, and then we're gonna have two different kind of layout right here. Okay, so this is the one container, and then I can do another container, and then separate by colon. All right, this is a very typical Java-based type of conditional way. All right, so if this one is, let's say if this one is your self's message, your own message, so I may want to just move the avatar to the right, right? So I can move this one down. Okay, all right, so let's try this. But then now the issue is a lot of messages don't have the UID yet, so I'm gonna delete this whole thing, start over, okay? I'm gonna delete this whole thing, come back, start again. Now we don't have any messages. Let's start from over. Now this is hi, and then good morning. All right, and then test again. All right, so now this message all have the UID, and then in this case the UID are supposed to be equal to the ones we have right now, right? So let's actually see with check our condition. If this UID is the one I do with the current user, right? So that way I'm gonna put I'm gonna choose the first one, which has supposed to have the avatar to the right, to the end. Otherwise I will actually do this one here. All right, so since this is not happening, so let's actually check out why this is not right. Okay, so we just need to make sure that this current user ID is correct. Okay, all right, so let's actually see here. What we can do is in the constructor, all right, so let's actually print the current UID and make sure everything is actually right. So I'm gonna do this one. I'll just print current UID and just make sure everything is right. Oh, this time actually it works. Okay, I think it didn't actually go through the constructor, so go back here. Now this time, because this is my own message, so it actually showed to the right. Okay, so now I can actually adjust some of these ones. I think this one here is go to the end. All right, so that's just a very quick fix, right? And also some of the margin stuff. This is the margin. This one go to the left margin. All right, and otherwise the message will go to the left. All right, so just something really quick that you can use the UID to differentiate who actually sent it. All right, so right now it's very hard to see the whole effect, and in the next lesson I'm going to run this whole thing in a different emulator, maybe with the LS emulator, and then so that we can actually check all the real-time update feature, and also to differentiate different senders and different messages.